Alright, what's good, y'all? It's been a little minute, but let's get right into it. So today, topic. Okay, you're tracking your nutrition, but you're not losing body fat. Okay, you say you're tracking, but you're not losing body fat. Now, first and foremost, the fact that you're tracking, you should commend yourself for that, because most people don't want to track. Okay, ultimately at the end of the day, tracking your food, tracking your nutrition, that's you holding yourself to a certain level of accountability. Okay, and that's what most people struggle with. Most people in general, not just for food, but not just for health, food, fitness, for everything, bro, for anything, rather. So I know that's what most people struggle with. I know that's one of the things that I have struggled with in the past, and I am always constantly working on improving in every area. So, but yeah, that being said, it's good that you're tracking, but, okay, if you're tracking, but you're tracking your weight, hopefully you're tracking on like an InBody or using DEXA so you can see the body composition. Weight only tells so much. You could be gaining muscle while you're losing body fat. If you lose 10 pounds of body fat, but you lose 10 pounds of body fat, but you also happen to put on, hypothetically, let's say like 10 pounds of muscle, you check the scale like, oh man, I didn't lose any weight. And then, if you only are checking the scale, you're going to feel like you need to change your inputs or be more drastic, when in reality, everything is working as it should be. So highly suggest that you get on the InBody or DEXA. Someone will say that the InBody isn't accurate. Bro, it's like 98%, something like that. It's way better than not knowing, and it's way better than just using a scale. Okay, do not use the like Amazon ones that you like, the at-home tests. Those things are really truly not accurate, right? But that being said, okay, if you're tracking using the InBody and you're not seeing yourself losing body fat, and I'm not talking about after 1 week, I'm talking about after weeks of consistency, weeks of doing the right inputs, weeks of doing the right things, still doing your strength training, then you might see, right, that you're not actually losing body fat. So what that might mean is if you truly believe that you're doing all the right things with good intention, first and foremost, you're not actually tracking correctly, bro. So as much as you don't want to hear it, you're not tracking correctly. Whether it's you're not tracking every single thing, because this is what I always say. I always tell people you need to track every single thing that goes in your body. Every single thing, bro. Right? A lot of times people miss, let's say you make eggs and you use, for example, I'll use like olive oil in my eggs in the pan. Okay? If you're using olive oil, olive oil per serving, I'm forgetting the exact number, but it's per tablespoon is going to be like 120 calories or something like that. So imagine you use, and you're not measuring, right? Imagine you just put the oil in the pan and then you make your eggs. Maybe you're not drinking the oil straight, but the oil that you use to fry those eggs, that's something that you have to account for, because that's a massive source of calories. Okay, fats are going to be 9 calories per gram. Protein, carbs are going to be 4 calories per gram. So you have fats. You're consuming fats and not tracking them. That's a lot of calories that you're missing. All right. The next one, just like condiments, bro, ketchup, even like teriyaki sauce, soy sauce, maybe. Anyways, ketchup, teriyaki sauce, mustard, freaking any of those sauces, dude. Barbecue sauce, you have to track them, even if it's not a lot. It's a lot more than you realize. Okay, and unless your output is so tremendously high that those numbers become trivial, you have to track those. So for the most part, that's going to be everyone, okay, having to track. All right, so oils and condiments, that's what I tend to see is the most missed when tracking. Butter is going to be another one, same thing. If you prepare something using butter, you're not tracking those things, you have to track that, bro. The other thing too, when it comes to that, is now the next thing is grazing. Like when you're preparing foods. So let's say you're making, you know, for example, you're making like a pasta dish and you're having to cut up ingredients for, let's say you're cutting up chicken or whatever, you're cutting up like the protein source, and then you're having to cook the pasta. Let's say you're you know, eating a little pasta here and there as you're making it. You're you know, picking a piece of chicken and eating it, or you know, a few pieces here and there. Bro, that stuff adds up. Even if it's only like 60 calories or 80 calories, or you know, even up to 100 plus, whatever. That, the thing about doing that over time, if you make 100 meals in the span of 6 months, if you make 100 meals, if you prepare meals 100 times, and every one of those times you're grazing, that stuff adds up. And you're not tracking that, that stuff adds up. Especially if you're in a deficit and you're supposed to be under a certain maintenance number. Now that can bring you back up to your maintenance, if not, you know, bring you over your maintenance, right? Especially if you're not doing every single thing diligently. Other thing, now, one of the things I've also seen people struggle with is not using, basically just being lazy and not using like the tracking tools, like measuring cups, like tablespoon. You know, they just use a regular spoon and be like, and assume like one of these is a tablespoon, or like peanut butter. That's the most popular one. You scoop a thing of peanut butter. That's 1 tablespoon. No, fuck, it's not, bro. You have to weigh that shit out, bro. And not using a scale, just using the nutrition label on the back. That's decent. That's a start. But bro, a lot of times with those nutrition labels, if you look, the 1 serving is such and such, but then they put the number in grams next to it. Typically the amount, the volume in grams of that food item, that said food item, that actual volume of what the actual serving size is in the grams versus what, you know, the arbitrary measurement is, it's usually a little bit less. All right, so that's another factor. So use the scale, bro. Use your food scale. Don't be afraid of it. At least for a time, right? Use the food scale. And stop guesstimating, bro. People will be like, oh, well, I didn't weigh this out, but I estimated about this and that. You're not estimating shit, bro. You're not estimating shit correctly anyways. As humans, and this is studied, as humans, we give ourselves way more leniency when it comes to stuff like this, like food. Like, oh, that was just 1 cup of this. No, bro, it was like 1.5 cups, maybe even 2 cups. Oh, that was only 100 grams of rice. Actually, it was like 160 grams. Again, maybe one time it doesn't affect you too crazy, but you do that over and over and over, compound effect, bro. That adds up. Alright, so weigh your foods out, bro. Now, obviously the leaner you want to get, the lower your body fat you want to get, you're gonna have to be more diligent. If you're content, and this is not for the people that work with me, if you work with me, I'm pushing you to get, you know, to that 10 to 12 range. If you're content with like a 20% body fat, you don't have to weigh this shit out. But if you want to get the cuts, you want to get the visible 6-pack, the obliques, all the striations and all that, you gotta weigh your foods out, bro. At least for a time. You don't have to do it forever, but at least for a time, right? And when I say a time, that's gotta be like 6 months to a year plus. Okay, it doesn't have to be forever, but yeah, you gotta give, bro. All right, now, and also, just I guess, just concluding thought on that particular thing. I've heard this where people say, I've tracked enough to where I was just, you know, just kind of guessing. You don't have that kind of base, bro. 3 months of tracking, and you weren't even like, you had maybe, and it's pretty solid, 90% accuracy or 85. You don't have the kind of base that you think you do to estimate the foods, the volume of food, the amount of food that you're eating, bro. It's just, you need way more time than that. All right, you gotta be patient. You gotta be diligent. All right, solutions to tracking your nutrition but not losing body fat. Okay, bro, number 1, use a motherfucking scale, bro. Just use a scale. Just use a food scale. Just do it, bro. Stop being like, oh, well, it's not healthy to always be thinking, bro. It's not healthy to be 25+% body fat, bro. Like, come on. Right? Use a food scale. Get familiar with it. Is it going to be perfect on the front end? Absolutely not, bro. Absolutely not. You're never going to be perfect at anything on the front end. You're never going to be perfect at anything, but you're never going to be a master at something the first time you do it. So stop expecting to start using the food scale and understanding it the very first time you use it. Just get used to it. The more you use it, the more you'll get familiar with it, just like anything else. All right. Then second thing I would say is track every single thing. Not most things, not 99% of things. Every single thing, dude. Every single thing. It could be, I know, like, people have kids and, like, oh, well, sometimes the kids leave, you know, might leave some of their snacks or whatever, and you just clean it up. Come on now. Or you're cooking for your kids and you have the test. Okay, that's cool, but again, in the same breath, track it, bro. If you had, but then also what that'll do is you're going to, all that stuff, all of this is habits, bro. You're gonna fall out of the habit of just the mindless grazing. You know, it's, you might be there physically, but mentally you're not really, and you're just, you know, grazing, eating a little bit of this, eating a little bit of that. That's where a massive issue comes into play, right? Shit. Alright, other thing. And the final thing I'm gonna say is just the self-accountability, bro. Like I said, this is gonna be the biggest one. Self-accountability, because you're the only person that's with you 100% of the time. You're the only person that can decide what you're gonna eat for the most part. Okay, I'm talking to, you know, my target demo is 25 to 35. If you're not deciding what you're eating, then you might just be like a giant, like, man-child or man-baby or something. But, bro, you decide what you eat. I don't care if you have a girlfriend, a wife, fiance. I don't give a shit, bro. Like, grab your nuts. My girlfriend, you know, I was tracking my foods and it just makes it, bro, grab your fucking nuts. Who's leading the relationship, you or her? Come on now. If you're a man, if you're a grown man, like I said, target demo. You don't have to be in this 25 to 35, but if you are a man, you decide what goes in your, you know, what goes on your plate and what you eat. Simple as that. So self-accountability, that's going to be the biggest thing. Self-accountability to eat what you're supposed to, and then also to track everything and to stick to your, you know, decided inputs. All right. So, golly, that was kind of long. I'm not going to lie. So, hopefully this helps. Okay, do what you need to do when it comes to the tracking. And yeah, use an InBody, use a DEXA to get your composition. Don't just use a scale. Scale can only tell you so much. Use visual clues if you don't have direct access to an InBody all the time. Use like articles of clothing, measure your waist size, all this stuff. Take progress pictures. All this is gonna help. Okay, but at the end of the day, like I said, just hold yourself accountable. Those are just tools, but at the end of the day, you have to be the one to make the active choice and decision to hold yourself accountable to these things. All right, so be getting more videos out, getting more stuff up more consistently. Your boy has not been on it, but we're getting back into it. All right, stay locked in.